Welcome to the French Rugby Show. I'm your host, Chris Alteni. Let's roll the intro. Welcome to the previous show. This is round 3 of the top 14. Before we get into that, we're going to have a look at news coming out of the top 14 this week. Some sad news coming out of the Montpellier camp with young prop Daniel Brennan, son of Irish legend Trevor Brennan, out for 4 to 6 months with torn ligaments in his hamstrings. And more recently, he was out with a badly sprained ankle and only just coming back to play his first game from injury. A young prop and a prop with a lot of potential, only 20 years old. So we wish him all the best. Speedy recovery, mate. Stade Ernest Vallon, where Toulouse play, has just got their new pitch up and ready for this Sunday's clash against Racing Metro. It's a hybrid pitch, half grass, half synthetic. Apparently Clermont redone theirs in 2016, and Brive as well just recently done theirs for this season, which rightly so. Brive needed to get their pitch done. When I was at Brive, I remember that when it rained, it poured, and it just stayed on the pitch, no drainage, no nothing, and come game day, it was just terrible to play on. But I think that played to Brive's strength, which was the set piece at scrum time. I guess we'll have to wait and see how that goes. And surprising news coming from Toulon that Mr. Georgia himself, Mamuka Gogodze, got called into the Georgia World Cup squad after announcing his retirement from international rugby 2 years ago. So great news for Georgia, not so much for Toulon. So we'll see what Mourad Boujela had to say about that. I bet he wasn't happy. Today's show, we're going to talk about what we've seen so far in the first 2 rounds of the top 14. I'm going to be bold and give my predictions already for the top 6. I know that it's early in the season, but we already see teams who are way above and beyond the other teams. We're going to have a look at that. Well, mainly the top 4, not really top 6, because there'll be 4 teams in the competition who will be battling that for 5th and 6th spot. And then we'll preview this weekend's games and then have a look at the match of the round, which is Brive and Clermont, and then we'll go through our picks as well. Looking back at the 2 episodes I've done, I want to keep these episodes short and sweet and sharp and just get right to the point. I'm a guy who likes to talk a lot. You give me a couple of beers at the pub and I'll just talk your ear off for the rest of the night. But obviously, as we start adding segments to the shows, like interviews and whatnot, which we have coming in October, we're very excited for that. Obviously, the shows will go a bit longer, but it'll be better content in there as well. So let's get into it. So I said I was going to make my picks of who I think is going to be there in the top 4 of that top 6 come season's end. But I think I'm going to put it down. No, I'm going to go 4. And if you watched the last 2 episodes, you would know I have been bragging on about Lyon. Lyon had a dominant performance against Stade Francais in the first game of the season. And then they played Stade Toulousain last week, round 2. This game was, as the French call it, un peu tendu, meaning that it was just no team was giving in. Both teams were just going at it, and only 1 try scored in the game by Noah Nakatasi, and the rest coming by way of penalty. These games are very important because it just shows the patience of a team and the ability to be able to be disciplined. And we see a lot, especially in the first 2 rounds of the top 14, undisciplined teams let teams that not necessarily have been playing better come away with the win. For example, Montpellier and Castres. Montpellier just dominated, but they just weren't disciplined, giving away 3 points and had the chance to win at the end, but losing the game with a misconversion from Aaron Cruden. But Lyon did well to keep their composure, and that's important, especially for the longevity of a season. Having composure and being consistent and just not doing dumb shit to give away silly penalties for easy 3 points. Like I said, in the competition now, there's kickers who can bang in from 50 meters in, sometimes 60 meters in. So anywhere along the pitch from 60 meters in, giving away penalties could cost you the game, especially could cost you towards the back end of the season. Lyon have a great team, have a good squad. They're building off momentum that they've had for the last 2 years. So all I can see is them just progressing and getting better and, being there in the top 6 pretty much. Another team for me, Montpellier. Montpellier have a solid team. They got big forwards, hard forwards, and they got big backs and fast backs. So that's a great combination that I think will work well for Montpellier if they can sort of gel it together, keep their discipline down to a minimum, just keep knocking away at teams. The match against Cast was a bit unlucky. Like I said, they could have won that game. They were definitely a better team that game, but just their discipline cost them towards the end where they had to play catch-up rugby. Another team for me is Bordeaux. Bordeaux had high expectations last year of making the top 6. They signed one of the biggest rugby stars in world rugby at the moment, Semi Radradra, the semi-trailer. For those you know him back in his NRL days with Parramatta, unstoppable. First half of the season they played really well last year, Bordeaux being undefeated at home, and then back end of the season where it matters, getting points at the beginning of the season is all good and great, but if you can't maintain it at the back end of the season, then you really don't deserve to play in the top 6, because that's crunch time and that's what finals footy is all about. But from the first 2 games that Bordeaux had played, I question their ability in defence, making those one-on-one tackles, coming up in the line, where a couple of games last year they played well, scored a lot of points, but it also let in a lot of points with their defence. So I reckon if they can get the defence together, then there could definitely be a chance with the team that they have, especially with the likes of Ben Bodekar coming in this year, complementing Matthew Jalibert, who's had an awesome start of the season. And then with Semi Radradra coming back from World Cup, Barnstorm running, Afa Mossa also coming back from the World Cup. And if they can keep that momentum and get these World Cup players coming back, then definitely rounding out that. Actually, I'm going to keep with those 3. And then rounding off that top 6, you probably see Clermont and Toulouse in there. So what is a top 6 final if you don't have those teams in there? And then maybe seeing Racing Metro and La Rochelle fighting off for the 6th spot. Okay, let's move on to round 3 of the top 14. Let's see who's playing who. First game, Saturday, 3:30, Cast Olympic versus Union Bordeaux Beg in Cast. So this game's going to be a tough game for both teams. Pressure for Cast. First game of the season for Cast, weren't the better team, but they still won. And then they went away to Racing, where I thought they were going to get the 4 points and win and just dominate at set piece time and scrum and lineouts. Didn't seem to be the case. They scored a consolation try right at the end, which helped the morale a little bit. I see Cast under pressure because of 2 mediocre performances. And if they don't play well this weekend, then there's going to be some tensions going around the training centre, and also tensions between the players and the supporters. On the other side, pressure match for Bordeaux. Bordeaux went away to Cast last year and beat Cast in Cast. But the pressure that they have is playing well for the first 2 games and then continuing their momentum in playing well. There's no point of having 2 solid home games at home, then you go play away and then you lose by 20 odd points. That's why I think consistency is the main thing for Bordeaux going to this game this weekend. Question is, who am I going to pick? The bookies don't have much between the 2 teams, but I think I'm going to go Bordeaux, just for the fact I think they're on a high, and they're going to go into this game with momentum and hopefully looking to get a result. Second game, Saturday, 5:30, Toulon versus Lyon at Stade Mael in Toulon. Now, I didn't speak about Toulon being in the top 6. I don't feel that this season they can be in the top 6 again. To have a great game like that against Agen, and then to get absolutely humiliated against Bordeaux. The dynamics there don't really seem to fit a team who will be a top 6 team at the end. But it is a long season. First home game of the season for Toulon. They got 5 points in the first game against Agen, getting the bonus point. If they can get another 5 points against a tough Lyon team, then maybe that these 5 points can do well to boost the morale. Lyon's first game away. I think Lyon will be in the same boat as Bordeaux, smashing Stade Francais at home and just winning against Toulouse. There's no point of winning 2 games, smashing one team, and then going away for your first game away and then getting 20, 30 points put on you. Like I said, it doesn't fit a dynamic of a team that should be, a team that is a top 6 team. In saying that, I'm going to go with Toulon to get the 5 points against Lyon. Game 3, Battle of the Seas. The Mediterranean versus the Atlantic, which means Montpellier versus La Rochelle. Montpellier will be looking to build on momentum of the game against Pau last weekend. So they'll be looking to do the same thing, smashing up the forwards. It's going to be actually a big battle up front with forwards, as both packs do have big forward packs. Montpellier as well, to get the ball out and to get those opportunities for Nemanja Dolo to be one-on-one, because that guy can't be stopped one-on-one, and they just need to be alive around Nemanja Dolo, as he has the capabilities to play those offloads. La Rochelle as well would need to be building on their performances. They had a good performance against Clermont. They played well against Stade Francais last week. Now they just need to sort of go from there and take it up a little notch higher. So I'm going to go with Montpellier to win this game anyway. So game 4 of Saturday, 8:45 p.m. It's Stade Francais versus Bayonne. Stade Francais really got wiped off the board against Lyon in the first game, and then really picked themselves up and came back in the second game against La Rochelle. Now they got their first home game of the season where they'll be looking for maximum points. The bookies have them heavy favourites against Bayonne. So if they can keep composed and not get it to their head like maybe the neighbours Racing Metro first game of the season, that it's Bayonne, they just came up, whatever, then they could have a good game and be able to get the 4 points. Bayonne, on the other hand, have had 2 big matches, beating Racing Metro in Racing Metro, and then Clermont going down to them at home, home game of the season. That game against Clermont, they didn't play bad. It was just Clermont's experience got the better of Bayonne and caused them to come away with the win. I think Bayonne, they have a really good core group that they can do something this season and be an upset or cause some upsets, or maybe, as I said, be a dark horse to get into the top 6. Bayonne, going Stade Francais, just need to don't think about the first 2 games. Think of this game as a different game and take it from there, and then hopefully do well against Stade Francais, who I'm picking to get up in this contest. Last game for the Saturday night, Pau versus Agen. So Pau this weekend should be really looking to put in that dominant performance against Agen, really going out there, marking their territory and saying, hey, this is our house and we're going to f*** up and take the 5 points as well. They need this. They need to have a good game. They need to smash them, and they need this especially for their morale. Agen, on the other hand, if they can be consistent on the field, getting the ball, moving forward and moving it through their hands, then they could possibly get the defensive losing point. If they don't do that, then they're going to lose, and probably lose big at that, with Pau looking to get the 5 points in this contest. So with that being said, I'm going to pick Pau to get up over in this game against Agen. All right, we're moving to Sunday's games, and this is our match of the round, Brive versus Clermont. This is a big game, not only because it's a derby, but because this is the 100th match that they've played against each other. And this is a big game for Brive to really restart their season, to be able to put themselves in a good position to stay up in the top 14. In saying that, if they lose this game at home, I'm calling it now, they're going down to Pro League 2 next season. Harsh, I know, I have friends that play there. If they lose this game, that's it. Like, the morale is down. They've got a good manager there with Jeremy Davidson. They just need to come together, find level ground where everybody's on the same page and going to be saying, hey, this is it. We're going to restart our season from this game. We're not going to let Clermont come here and think that they're going to win this game, where the bookies have them as favourites as well, and everyone else in that follows the top 14 has Clermont favourites as well. Clermont haven't been beating teams by lots. They haven't been, going over the top with their games. They've just been playing really well. They've got a really good 10 there, Jake McIntyre, who's commanding his players around the field, putting them into space, giving them great opportunities to score and to go forward. So not much to say about Clermont. It's just that they're a really good team, and even though they're missing a lot of their players for World Cup, I think 11 or 12 players, they have that depth to still be able to go forward, move forward and play well. So I'm going to go with Clermont in this contest to beat Brive at Brive. But, in the back of my mind, deep down in my heart, I hope Brive can get the win and restart their season. If not, like I said, that's it. That's done. They're going down to Pro League 2. Last game of round 3, Toulouse versus Racing Metro. Now this is at Toulouse's home ground on their new hybrid pitch. We'll see how that goes. Toulouse again, people have been putting them down because they're not playing like they played last season and like they played in the final and like how they've been dominating every team last year. No, of course, they're testing the depth of the players and they're playing well. They're not getting thrashed. If you were to take most of the stars out of their team, look, Toulon's got stars in their team. They went to Montpellier and they got smashed. If you were to take the stars out of some teams and then put their second string team in, I'm not calling the players who are playing now for Toulouse second string, no. Got the depth that they can trust in these players. And it shows as well with Hugo Mola last year, putting Chesson Colby on the bench and playing Luca Tozan on the wing. You know what I mean? They have that ability to do that. And it's just that it's just that Toulouse haven't had much game time together as that group, like the group that played and went on to win the top 14 final. Give it time. There's a lot of talent in that team. They still got Charlie Famuina, Jerome Kino, Zach Holmes, Sebastian Bezzi, who else? Peter Aki. These guys were part of that winning team. So for people to say, Toulouse, they're not doing well and they're going to struggle when their internationals come back, I say that it's normal. They're just finding game time together, and then when the internationals come back, whether they come back injured, healthy, or whatever, then Hugo has an opportunity to be like, okay, well, he played 800 minutes in the World Cup. I'm going to put him on the bench, give him a rest, or give him a couple of weeks rest, and keep with my team that's playing right now because they're going well. Racing, on the other hand, if I were to say anything for Racing to get over Toulouse this weekend, is to have the same performance up front that they did against, who did they play? Against Cast. Really dominating set piece at scrum time, and then that line out disrupting mauls as well. Toulouse do have a really good maul, so if they can disrupt that and set themselves up defensively and not give away penalties, then they might have a chance. But for me, I'm putting all my confidence in Toulouse to getting this win over Racing Metro. Whew, now that's done. So that's round 3 of the top 14. Just a recap of my tips, I'm picking Bordeaux over Cast, Toulon over Lyon, Montpellier over La Rochelle, Stade Francais over Bayonne, Pau over Agen, Clermont over Brive, and Toulouse over Racing. Got 6 out of 7 last week for my tips. Who did I pick? I picked Cast to beat Racing. If I didn't do that, I would have had 7 out of 7. Speaking of my tips, if you haven't joined the tipping competition, the details are below in the description. We'll be open for another month, so you got a month to join in the tipping competition. When you join, you just be given the away teams as your picks from previous rounds. Come join in, have some fun. There's some chances to win some prizes, some cool prizes, with the big prize at the end, winning 2 nights and 2 tickets to the top 14 final. How awesome is that? So again, the link is below if you want to join. That's it for the French Rugby Show. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your time. If you do enjoy the show, don't forget to go and smash the like button, subscribe, and share with your friends. Until next time, I'm your host, Chris Saltani. This is the French Rugby Show, signing off. À bientôt.